So you buy a bunch of black SUVs, bring in foreign mercs, admittedly run by foreigners, and your authorities drive a black car, wear a black uniform, got a German Shepherd and a machine gun. You are now an authority, Steve Quayle.
Well, I think the thing that people have got to understand, and it's really got to sink in, is that we are under occupation. Look, we watched it happen in Nazi Germany. By the way, what's happening in the best illustration is World War II Norway, how the Nazis moved into Norway, moved into Sweden, moved into, obviously, Scandinavia, and assimilated into the community. How long, Alex, have you and I been reporting on all the anomalies that people are seeing? And now it's here, ladies and gentlemen, because, again, and Alex, there are 400,000 foreign troops in the United States. People used to give us crap all the time about it, and they did. They gave me crap until it just, it just flowed. The bottom line is, and then Northcom comes out and says they want permission from Congress to strategically place 400,000, quote, peacekeepers in the U.S. Where do those peacekeepers come from? Well, guess what? The United Nations. And isn't it incredible that the CDC, and we got to bring this in, the Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization no longer report H1N1 deaths because there's not enough of them. So how can you have a pandemic when there's no deaths to warrant the level 6? This is all manipulated. It's all absolute programming, and it's all designed to put us under martial law. And by the way, the Hardin facility isn't for Gitmo. It's for people who are resistors. And
let me stop you right there. They admit that in the Homeland Security reports we broke and the Mayak reports. Is Steve still there? Steve, finishing what you said, you talked to the county sheriff's department. Steve, by the way, has given us dozens of good reports, and more than that over the years. So we can count on what Steve tells us. We've had Steve on it several times, not Steve Quayle, but the other Steve as a guest, about bizarre stuff going on at universities in East Texas and all these flu drills before this even happened, practicing quarantining with Army at different universities. Steve, you talked to her, and she just said none of this is going on, but you said, well, I've seen the newscast with that on the mercenary vehicles, and she said, well, that's been taken off. So first she denies it, but as soon as she knows that you know facts, she goes, well, that's no big deal. I mean, that is really frightening when the sheriff's department is engaged in deception.
And I also want to mention I had an interesting discussion with a woman with City Hall tied in with the City Council. I wanted to point out, first of all, the guy that's on that newscast, he's not the mayor. His name's Al Peterson. He's with this Two Rivers Authority. And if you notice, he used the name Captain Michael. They said they had a contract. Well, first of all, with the sheriff's department, the woman, by her response, this is fake. And then when I told her what I knew, I mean, she didn't know what to say, but when she said it's taken off the vehicles, in other words, in her mind, that makes it all okay. And, to summarize all that, I just told her, no, what needs to be removed is these people from your town. And when I talked to the City Hall woman, I just let her know, look, you need to let these people with the City Council know they're there to uphold the laws of your community and to protect the locals. It's local municipalities. And she said,
listen,
and I asked her, who's...
Go ahead.
What's that?
Go ahead.
I asked her, who's the Two Rivers Authority? Well, they're here for they're set up for economic development.
So let's be clear. It's just like LCRA here in Central Texas has SWAT teams, armored vehicles, private jails. It's a quasi-private group. They take over towns. So that guy acting on the news like he's the mayor of Two Rivers, this is just the head of this authority that's done a contract with the American police force that isn't even American, who's now driving around just announcing themselves as an incorporation over the city. This is a total takeover. Good job, Steve. When you study this stuff 15, 16, 18 hours a day, you start understanding the patterns, and then you know what you're seeing immediately, no matter what they say. But in this case, they're admitting it all. Steve Quayle.
Well, I think the bottom line is that whatever they do, they always do in plain sight. And remember, redefining terms is the Hegelian dialectic, and we watched that in Hitler, and, you and I started screaming when they started talking about Homeland Security. By the way, wasn't it just last week that Homeland Security supposedly had done penance for their identifying all of the terrorists, and now they're back up in full force again, and guess who's on the list? Everybody was on the list before. Now, Alex, here we may be close to this, a timing issue before you and I have to say goodbye today. The idea of the timing, it looks like October, November is the time period. I just got an email in. You need to hear this. The Louisiana State Police are doing explosive ordnance device training. They're running classes right now for all their parishes. The policemen in this class told me they're getting ready to raise the terror alert, looking at some weird United Nations camera vehicle group on I-20 in Mississippi at this point. And the guy said, thank you, Frank. He's saying, I'm trying to get pictures. So the thing is, look, we come out, we speak about the vaccination, they say, okay, we'll just go to the next thing. We identify the next thing. They just go to the next thing. These people are not without plan D, E, F, G if we expose A, B, C. But it still puts people into the same position. They have got to make sure that if they could not go to a store for 30 days, they could stay where they're at. By the way, our governor just made a statement, I guess, today that he's not going to allow anybody with federal authority to take away the guns, the food, or the state rights that we possess and we intend to stand with. So, again, we've got a very outspoken state governor. People are asking me, will succession succeed? No. We're going to be balkanized. The only question is, will enough people be gotten out of harm's way in time?
Steve, that's another nexus point. Your governor said you're going to manufacture guns in the state outside federal control. Northcom out of Colorado said we're not going to allow that. And then now Obama's come in with Justice Department letters threatening the states, threatening them with the John Warner Defense Authorization Act that stated Homeland Security is to block governors and legislatures. So
Absolutely.
That's what this is a major federalized, internationalized cancer probe that they've put in to this town.
Absolutely, Alex. And one of the things I've got to tell everybody, you've got to understand, and those of you who are Christians have got to you've got to pray for the people who are absolutely in state office that are standing up in federal office, because, look, they have assassination teams, just like the old video series America. You remember where the Russians they took out all of Congress and the Senate? Well, these guys got the same plan. Anybody that doesn't go along, they either pay them off or they blow them away.
Or set them up. And they made that show with Chris Christopherson off of real plans that have been drawn up, but instead of Russians doing it, it's this international corporate takeover, and just like Operation Valkyrie was used against Hitler, they're going to use the continuity of government grid as their playbook and cover to take over. Diane, what's your info?
Okay, September 9th. Steve, I don't know if you'll remember me from Superior, Montana, which is about 50 miles west of Missoula.
Right.
We had a small incident where there was a bunch of SUVs, black Hummers, you name it. It was all there. They even brought a helicopter in. It was 4 miles from my home. So when we went to check it out, there was a husband that went down there and talked to them personally. They were all over climbing the mountains in camo, dressed up. They were armed, and they said they were just doing a training exercise. Called the sheriff's office, and we got the same story. It's just FBI training, but it was FEMA. Right, in Superior. And we're probably about maybe 4,000 population.
Well, I need everybody in the area to get cameras. They're very cheap now, video cameras, for as cheap as $100 that shoot decent quality. Everybody needs to be shooting this and uploading it to YouTube. Steve Quayle.
Well, I think, that's obvious. And as we're talking, Alex, I think that people need to become eyes and ears and email you stuff in real time and make put video important of stuff. Don't just, go out and just take dormant military vehicles, but vehicles that are in motion, like the report we just got. And let me share this too. People have got to stay up on this. There are reports of sailors being vaccinated. I stated, and this is critical for people to understand, you guys in the Pentagon, shame on you. I stated that the easiest way to deal with America before a full-scale assault in this country was to poison the vaccines and then let them be tested on servicemen. And because of this is a matter of national security, Alex, big time, we're not going to get any true reports.
And now we're hearing Bob Chapman's confirmed with his sources, and he's always been accurate, that they're dying on the ships, not just quarantining them.
Well, absolutely. And See, this is the thing, too, that people have got to understand, that we have a specific concern out there for whatever it's going to be. They're going to initially utilize the H1N1, H5N1, whatever else they come up with. But the idea is this, is to scare you. And if we provide the information, Alex, and God bless you for what you do, all the different information, that should be an antidote for fear, because that's what we're talking about.
Let me ask Diane in closing, what did the locals think, and how many FBI FEMA troops were there?
Okay, there were 6 vehicles when my husband went right by them. He called back and said, lock down. I don't know what's going on, if there's escaped prisoners or what. Same time, helicopter came through, right overhead. Called his secretary, who was coming in on I-90, told her to check that area out and look at it, and that's when she saw all the camo guys all over the mountainside just crawling up. Asked around town, people didn't think anything about it.
Yeah, this is insane. They're definitely probing and testing. Thank you so much, Diane.